Hello, everyone. This is Reverend Jerry Hobby, and I am so happy to be with you this Sunday morning. This is our first day of springing forward, daylight savings time. And boy, am I happy that we all woke up, that we are starting our day. And there are so many wonderful things happening as we proceed to move forward into our experience in 2020. And the thing that I'm most excited about today is that we get to have a wonderful heart to heart conversation, remembering that we are all so much more than we appear to be. And this conversation is a conversation we get to have with every aspect of this thing we call SEAT FM, Spiritual Enlightenment and Truth Focused Ministry. This is broadcast is going out to our Purple Heart Ministry. It is going out to those SEAT ambassadors and also our emissaries of light. We are all being reminded of our truth. And I'm so happy because our leadership is here. Now, we believe that there is value in spiritual practice. And today is a spiritual practice that we're going to really move deep in. So before we move into that spiritual practice, the first thing I want to do is introduce you to some of the members of our leadership team. The first person I'm going to introduce you to is Catherine Redmond, who is listening in. It's almost like we're having a podcast in a way right now because Kathy is listening in and she's a part of this conversation. Kathy, would you like to say something to the group?
Well, I'd like to say happy spring to everyone and to say we're alive and well and living here in Roswell and enjoying ourselves. And I think that's what it's about, is learning to enjoy ourselves and be happy wherever we are.
And you know what I love is that we get to remember that we can connect with the world in a wonderful way. You're in Roswell and I'm here in SoCal. I'm going to say SoCal. And we are connected and we can change the world and transform the world right where we are. And we can also work in unity together. I love that. Wonderful. Thank you, Kathy. And then we have our wonderful blessing. And this blessing is Miss Patty Walton. She's the youngster in the group. She has a birthday coming. And I'm going to let her share with you and tell you how old she's going to be on her birthday.
Oh, I'll be the big 81.
She's going to be the big 81. Wow.
I used to say 8 plus 1 equals 9, so I'm really only 9.
I love it. I love it. Yes.
And I may be getting older, but I refuse to grow up.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, do you have anything special you want to share with us today?
In connection with the body and acknowledging the now, I'm saying I court the living presence. Students should take time every day to see their lives as they wish them to be, to make a mental picture of the ideal. If you believe it, you'll see it. Might not be saying it right, but get the idea.
And that came from Dr. Ernest Holmes?
Yes.
Okay, I love that. That's one of my favorite quotes, by the way. Thank you so much. And I would like to use that as our anchor for today because it's important for us to bring perspective to life. And for me, this is an important part, especially when we're talking about spiritual practice. I think that if we can engage more in spiritual practice, we will discover who we are. That we get to move into that place where we don't have to consider apologies, because what we get to do is we get to live a life of wholeness. And it is a matter of consciousness. It is a matter of understanding who we are and valuing ourselves. I think the most profound experiences that I've ever had was to learn that I am so much more than I appear to be, and to learn too that the way I treat myself and the way I treat the world has an impact on me. So I'm remembering all these wonderful stories that have occurred in my life. Some of these things that have occurred, I was in error. I was in separation. I remember being in, I think I was in the 3rd grade, and I was so excited and said something that was inappropriate. And that inappropriate behavior brought forth a conversation with one of my wonderful sheroes. It was my sister. And she was part of my co-parenting process at that time. She is 11 years older than me. And the question was, well, how would you like to be treated in that particular way? And I blurted something out, and it was about a neighbor, and I was excited. And I saw them and said, "Oh, you look so pretty. You're wearing your sister's clothes." And it was kind of hurtful. The mother heard it. The kids were walking. They were twins. They were walking to school, and I was on the school ground. And I lived across the street so I could see everything was happening while I was at recess. That was a very painful experience for them. And it also brought me back to my heart space. And I got to learn that I am so much more, and people are so much more than they appear to be. Now, I share that story, and I could probably share a million stories. We are the solution for the healing of the world. And this is the most important part for us to remember. And that contained within us is so much. The Science of Mind says it this way, for us to remember about who we are. And when they say the body expresses intelligence. It's apparent intelligence being lent by the consciousness which it permeates it. The physical body is evolved for the purpose of allowing consciousness to function on this plane. So we are so much more than we appear to be. We're more than our bodies. We are more than we can even imagine. So in this plane and on this human experience, we get to reveal the presence of wholeness, the presence of perfection. So it is so important for us to remember that we truly are a blessing in the world. So when I was approached about this subject, and my first exposure to it, I heard the words, "I love myself the way I am. There's nothing that needs to change. I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. I'm beautiful. I'm capable of being the best me I ever can." I probably have altered the words a little bit, but it is true. And this is the truth that I know about each and every one of you. Part of our work is to rise above the status quo. And when we rise above the status quo, we rise above limitation. And when we rise above limitation, we get to see the truth of our being. And that truth of our being is that the spirit of perfection dwells within us. So I'm dedicating this talk, this power talk, and this message, this prayer, to every single person in the world. It doesn't matter whether you're 80 plus or 81 or 8 plus 1, 9, or whether you are just taking your first breath in this human experience. We are all beautiful, we're all perfect, and there is the seed of good within each and every one of us, and that is the seed of good that that Emma Curtis Hopkins spoke of, that we should affirm that we ought to have every day. We should have ourselves. We should love ourselves. So I'm going to share a poem with you, and then we're going to move into spiritual practice. And I want to remind you that as you are moving into spiritual practice, one of the greatest spiritual practices that we can do is to honor the body of our being, to honor ourselves and our expression. That honoring is learning how to love ourselves, learning how to respect ourselves, learning to claim the truth of our being. So with that set in mind, I want to share a poem. And this poem is by Nuraya Wahid. And I'm hoping I'm expressing her name appropriately. And it says, "And I said to my body softly, I want to be your friend. It took a long breath and replied, I have been waiting my whole life for this." So here's the full poem. No might make them angry, but it will make you free. If no one has ever told you your freedom is more important than their anger, and said to my body softly, I want to be your friend. It took a long breath and replied, I have been waiting my whole life for this. If the ocean can calm itself, so can you. We are both salt water mixed with air. We are an expression of the allness of the divine. And that allness of the divine wants to fulfill itself within each and every one of us. So I'm inviting you right now to join me. And just as we remember, we're salt water, we're air, we're all of it conglomerated in this physical being. But we remember too that there are bodies within the bodies of the bodies, and that in each part of it is the seed of perfection. And that seed of perfection is the essence of who we are. So I want you to simply breathe with me this morning and just slow down. And we're going to hydrate ourselves with the Spirit, the water of truth, the watering of Spirit in action. Just breathe. And allow the energy, the essence of this divine wisdom to touch your entire being. Moving through your heart space and expanding itself right now. And I want you to energetically and emotionally catch the truth about the experience of compassion, the experience of love, and the experience of peace. So I want you to remember your moment of compassion, your moment of self-care, and your moment of peace. And I'm taking my memory back to when I was in the 3rd grade. And the energetic of that story and that conversation with my sister and what I learned from that experience. because that is an experience that I carry with me for the rest of my life. And that reminder is that I and every single person I come into contact with is so much more than we appear to be. That divine love dwells within us, because I know that that conversation I had with my sister was born out of love, and it was that divine anchor that really supported me and brought me to this very moment. So I'm having a moment of gratitude right now, and I want you to have your moment. If you don't have a moment, I just invite you to anchor into my moment. This is love in action. I'm going to call it radical love today. And I want you to amplify that energy of love, knowing that you are so much more than you appear to be. Knowing that everyone in our circle of life is so much more than we all appear to be. Knowing that the world is so much more than it appears to be. And in this moment right now, I speak my word, and I speak my word knowing that the presence of the one, that divine life of love and joy and peace and harmony dwells within me, that that divine presence of peace abides within me. And I know that if it abides within me, that every single person is simply a mirror and a reflection of me. And that everyone that is hearing this prayer, that is viewing this prayer, that is in contact with this prayer, that the blessings of Spirit is the only power and the only presence revealing itself, expressing itself, and it is that essence that is alive, that it has waited all its life for this very moment of truth, and that this wonderful presence is germinating itself as the energy and the spirit of wholeness, as radical love in action. And so in this very moment, right here, right now, I know that it shows up in a practical way within our experiences, that our body temple, that every single organ beholds, reacts to the truth of its being. And that reaction is the openness to the truth of love, the saturation of love as the blessing of salt and water, as the blessing of that air, as the blessing of life in action, life unfolding and expressing itself right now. I know that in the body of our finances, that same energy is the divine blessing, that every seeming need is met, that the universe opens itself up in a greater and more responsive way, and that the healing presence of the divine prospers itself. It advances itself as our truth of being, as abundance, the more than enough of Spirit fulfilling itself and enriching itself now, and that every seeming need is already met. I'm acknowledging the essence of the divine, and that essence of the divine is the infinite power, the infinite Spirit It is that divine source fulfilling itself within every relation. Our relationship with ourselves and the relationship of all that we come into contact with and all that we engage, the spirit and the light of wholeness fulfills itself. So I'm so grateful this morning for the essence of this divine presence, this divine essence that expands itself, enlarges itself, that overflows within itself, and that the qualities of life expand within us, that we engage in life from a place of wholeness and the truth of our being, knowing that we are an important part and piece of the puzzle. And so in this space of gratitude right now, we simply know that we are that perfect fit, that perfect expression, that perfect light. And it is in this space here that it fulfills itself in a perfect, a natural, and a wonderful way. And it is in this space here that we simply release these words right now into the action of universal law. And we affirm and say, and so it is. Amen. Wow.
And so it is. Namaste.
Yes. And we just breathe. And if you're just opening your eyes, I want you to see the world anew. And as you see the world anew, I'm inviting you to see the perfection of life in action. I'm going to give you some advice today. And that advice is to take a break from our media, because they often remind us about what's not working in the world. And I want you to know that we can shift those things that are not working. If you have to come back to this prayer again, come back to it to be reminded of your truth. Take a break. Media, and I want you to hear this, has its place in our life. It teaches us how to pray. It teaches us how to use common sense, and it supports us. But sometimes it can get out of balance. And the reason it gets out of balance is we forget that we are having an intimate encounter. And that intimate encounter is the encounter that we have within ourselves. So I'm going to invite you to take time and remember those things there. I'm also going to invite you to go to our website and to look through the newsletter if you're getting this through MailChimp today, and see all the wonderful things that we have going on in this community. They're there to support you in living a life of wholeness. And the most important thing is make sure you hydrate yourself. And I want you to hydrate yourself at the core. I'm going to use this today, at the core of your being. And when I say hydrate yourself at the core of your being, drink your liquids. I'm watching Catherine Redmond drinking her tea right now. My drink is the core, the water. Hydrate yourself. This is part of what we get to do in terms of staying healthy right now. There's a lot of going on in the world with the coronavirus. Drink your water, wash your hands, and continue to pray. All right? And the other part is to saturate your consciousness with truth. Love you. You're going to be getting so much more information. And I want you to pay attention to, because we have sprung forward with things you can do to bring balance and harmony to your body with this new experience. I sent something out last night to you, and that was regarding daylight savings time. So you have some stuff to look forward to. And if you don't have the information, go to our website and subscribe to our website and you'll get that information too. Love you all. Have a blessed week. Namaste.